Yeah, I think without much ado, I would like to start our panel. Yeah, welcome first to our speakers today. Next to me, we have our trend forecaster and retail expert, Theresa Schleicher. Then joining us from eBay is Alexis Hoopes, VP of Fashion. Then we have Sara Effenberger from Effenberger Couture, and also Aline Amike from a label from Berlin. So we have two labels and and eBay as like a second-hand fashion kind of company and like a retail expert. So what do we make of a session as this? I think as I've been thinking about this panel, I would like to take a step back and not just talking about fashion retail, which is a very corporate way to talk about just the simple act of selling clothes. And I think that would also maybe open up a more fluid stage to talk with labels, young labels, and also corporations such as eBay. But still, at the beginning, I think we need to revisit a bit the state of fashion, which is really a bit always at its height. It should be like a good marriage between creativity and business. But currently, I think the industry might be struggling a bit at both fronts. So that also raises the question what fashion retail has to deliver. And yeah, are there any trends that we should keep up with from AI, as we've heard, to maybe also secondhand shopping or buzzwords such as authenticity? And I think first I would like to start to ask a question to our retail expert, Theresa. Why is the business of fashion retail facing such a tough time right now?
Well, it is quite tough, yes.
Yeah.
Well, the fashion markets are quite saturated at the moment. We do have a lot of shifts at the moment going on. I mean, if you look in your wardrobe, you probably have some dresses or trousers you haven't worn any time. And it's actually 20 to 30% of the dresses in a wardrobe hasn't been worn at all after it was bought. And we've come from a time around the last 10 or 20 years, we've bought so many things. That was actually the growth of the fashion industry, that we had so many trends and so many clothes. And now we see that there is an access of buying clothes and having so much, actually. It's kind of a mass we do have at home. And on the other hand, I mean, it's not that far away. It's just a few years ago, we had COVID. And all of the stores, not obviously e-commerce, but all of the stores needed to close the stores. And well, as a fraction of that, they do had full stocks. So after that, they need to purchase so many things. So what did they do? They had many discounts. And so many discounts. If you just go here at the Kudam, I just live around the corner, you see on every window sale, 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 sale. So coming back to think what is really a nice dress and what is the right price for that, and do you really want to buy that? This is actually struggling because people want to earn money on one hand, but people are not actually accept the prices anymore. So it is quite struggling at the moment, talking about the growth, the next growth of fashion industry.
Yeah, and speaking about the business part, I'm also wondering, since secondhand is obviously a trend in the Western Hemisphere nowadays, especially among a younger, customer base, how is business actually going at your end, Alexis, at eBay?
So, as you said, we're almost seeing the opposite in the response to some of the trends more globally around overconsumption, which is resale and secondhand is certainly a trend in the marketplace. We see about 1,200 searches for the word vintage a minute on our platform. So customers are really leaning into searching for pre-loved. And I think it's both in response to there's an environmental component of it, it creates good value, but it's also an opportunity to find those really unique pieces. And so for us, where about 40% of our fashion items are pre-loved on our site, we're seeing just a ton of new customers coming in, shopping pre-loved for the first time, buying a brand for the first time, on eBay because it is pre-loved, and also selling some of that product that you were talking about that's in their wardrobe that they haven't worn, and thinking about more circularity in when they buy fashion, that it's not just a one-time use or a one customer, it can go on and have a second life.
Because when you speak to fashion retailers or fashion stores right now, a lot of people complain that people are not actually buying, as Theresa said. I'm wondering if that has actually transpired to second-hand fashion in some way, that you also see maybe a bit more hesitation, people scrolling more around the page before they do a purchase?
Well, we certainly want people to discover and engage with fashion and have that discovery on the resale side, but I would say we are still seeing a ton of growth in the industry, and certainly with the youngest customers coming in, they more and more will have grown up shopping secondhand as one of their first choices. It'll be interesting for all of us in the fashion industry as that customer base ages and moves into their prime buying time, where in the past it was all about acquiring new and acquiring a lot. They're very used to this way of shopping, and so it's going to fundamentally change the retail landscape. So I think we're just only getting started on this trend of re-commerce and circularity in fashion.
Okay, interesting. And just to give also a voice to our labels present here, because as we know, fashion business can be really tough for younger labels. I was wondering if, Sara, you could share a bit of your experience, how you started with your own label in the fashion industry, and how business is going for you right now.
So yeah, if I talk about how I started, I had another brand before, and I did the very traditional way, you know, going to Paris, going into the showrooms, selling to wholesalers directly, and who would just I sell it to wholesalers, but they would just then sell it to the customers. So I was very disconnected to the users at the end, which was a little bit frustrating, and it didn't really work. I told you before, I kind of end up in bankruptcy because of that system, because for a small label, it's basically a little bit impossible to sustain like this. You get small orders, and you have a bunch of expenses to cover with that to sustain your label, because the seasons are coming and you have to just go with that. So I just skipped that 6 years ago and founded a new label called Effenberger Couture. It was a long story why I ended up there, but it's more of a party wear brand for queer people, mostly with male body parts, and it's a direct-to-consumer business. So we're selling only online, or mostly online. We have now some stores as well, some wholesalers who came to us, who wanted us. It was the other way around. I could be like, which I was before, please take me. And that is a really nice experience in so many ways. So already to understand what the customer needs, what he wants, and also to guide your collection that way, to just really understand, okay, this is really not selling, and I know why now, because I got responses, or I just know that this is really not selling, while you're selling something to wholesalers and you never know what's the best sellers, basically. And I think that's a big difference, and it's working very well.
So I'm wondering, being a direct-to-consumer brand, like a brand selling directly to consumers and not via some wholesalers, as we have heard right now. How is it working out for you actually, Aline, with your brand? Your brand is maybe you could introduce a bit what your what the product of your brand is, and tell us a little bit more about how. Yeah, also the business side is working out for you right now.
Wow, this is loud. It's loud. Sorry. So can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. So maybe you could introduce your brand a bit, and also tell us how the business side is working out for you right now. How are you doing? Are you doing well selling stuff, or are you actually going with other models such as renting?
So Amike Studio is a brand that I would say is focusing on wearable art. It's quite experimental, and I'm making accessories like bags, necklaces, yeah, and other. I am, I would say, obsessed with structure, and I like things that are firm. So, because the products I make are hard for a person to make a commitment to buy it, looking at that everything is handcrafted, like one bead at a time, it's really costly, and I understand that the people who are my clients right now do not have the money. So I came up with a renting way of doing it, and I thought, well, people can buy a moment, not something. And I thought that was also, it's more sustainable for me because I don't need to make a lot of things, as it's also taking so much time. And, so I optimize time and
yeah. And how's it working out for you? Like, I think it's a very smart idea to go about this sort of pieces that you have and saying, okay, well, why don't I need to sell a piece that someone might not wear like every day, but just for a nice occasion? So how is this renting model working out for you also in engaging with your community or your customers?
it's definitely very taxing on the communication side, and also it requires a lot of trust. The challenge comes to, like, if you see the person that is renting a piece and you're like, if you lost it, could you afford it? No. Most of the times, no. And so, I mean, but it works though. It works because if someone has a birthday or they have something where they want to go all out and be crazy about it, they can rent a piece, take it, bring it back, and pay.
Yeah. Maybe just a question out of curiosity. Like, how much would it cost to rent like a piece of yours?
Like 70 euros a day. Between that and 300 based on the piece, which piece. Yeah.
And I've seen that both of you are also actually doing events at Berlin Fashion Week, which is just starting right now. Is it also possible to rent one of your pieces then?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And I think Sara is also doing an interesting sort of customer engagement at Berlin Fashion Week. It's a sort of workout.
Yes.
But do you have to be dressed in a certain way to join?
I think nobody really understands. So also my friends are just like, do I have to make workout to come to your event? So no, it's basically, it's just we want to give something back. I mean, we want the studio to retail prize money. And so we want to just like kind of use it to give something back to the community. There's no must. You don't have to wear our slutty pieces, during a workout. It's just basically we will have our sales stand there. But we have 3 very, very amazing queer trainers there who's like giving some queer workout sessions. So you can book in, come with your normal sports clothes, and just like join us for some sports, or just don't and come and buy our pieces, or just hang out at the bar.
So it's tomorrow at Platte in
No, it's at
Berlin,
Schwutz, actually. Schwutz in...
Schwutz. Okay, and so everyone who is curious about a workout with at Berlin Fashion Week at these temperatures, they can join you basically.
It's very cold in there. It's a club, so they have AC, So if it's too hot tomorrow, come to us.
Okay.
And then sweat, working out,
I'm curious how this sort of more like creative and also laid back consumer or like fan engagement might turn out tomorrow, and it's also, I think, in taking place because of Pride Month also.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and but going back to other forms of engaging consumers, also when you're maybe not like a local label but a global corporation such as eBay, eBay has like introduced live shopping a while ago as a tool to engage more with consumers. How has it actually worked for you, Alexis?
Yeah, so we've started live selling, or creating a live selling platform for our buyers and sellers to connect with each other. And it's, I mean, similar themes of how you create community around the sales event. And eBay's been, through our whole history, is about connecting buyers to sellers and bringing their products to life in new ways and kind of continually reinventing e-commerce. And for us, or what I love about the live selling channel is it just creates this sense of community where a seller can invite buyers into their space, into their home, into their studio, wherever they are, and have a dialogue with them. And what we're seeing is it's a great way to engage and learn more, especially about high-end luxury items. So one of the things we've been surprised with is just the amount of luxury watches that we're able to sell on the live platform, because there's this dialogue that starts to happen between all of the viewers who are watching, interested, asking questions of the sellers, and then the seller, telling about the item, instilling that trust and authenticity into the items that they're selling. And I think it kind of goes back to the roots of retail, where you had a relationship, you went into a store, you had a dialogue with a salesperson, and now you're able to bring that online and scale it in a way that we just haven't been able to before in e-commerce. And so we started in the US, we just recently launched in the UK. We just had a great live stream with our partnership with Love Island, and we had 21,000 people tuning in to see and buy and engage with pre-loved product. And then this fall, we'll be bringing it here to Germany as well. So we think this very much is that future of e-commerce, and especially in the pre-love space. But I think kind of building onto some of the themes, it's about creating community, engagement in new ways, but also that authenticity and trust element brings it to life in a very different way.
Yeah, I think technology can be an interesting tool, also not only for e-commerce retailers in the case of live shopping to connect with an audience, but also as like a physical retailer. I've seen interesting examples in China when actually physical retailers went to as a buyer to a fashion week and then started their live stream to show what kind of things that they are buying for the next season and so on. So it can be used as a much more transparent process as to what you're doing as like when we're talking about physical brick and mortar stores, for example. But I think technology, just in the widest term of speaking about it, can also do much more to help fashion companies to understand what kind of needs the customers actually have, because we're actually still operating on partly on a quite old school system of trend forecasting, where people are really looking at what is on the runways this season to make trends that retailers will then in turn follow. And so we're actually still operating on this kind of not so time-sensitive model, let's say. But Theresa, you have also looked into more ways for retailers to and fashion companies to keep up a bit faster with trends that are actually happening. Could you share some of your of the things that you found?
Sure. I mean, I think the most important fundamental insight is that 79% of people living in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, so DACH region, are missing zeitgeist and modernity and innovation in fashion at the moment. Because if you just go through all the inner cities, you see the same brands, the same products, all of them playing safe. And I think that is actually a good thing if you speak about having new connections and bonding with customers, because there is a lack of zeitgeist and innovation. This can be a chance for new brands, but it can be also for classic and standard brands to find new ways to be trendy or to be relevant for the customers. And there are different ways to do that. I mean, technology and data is the way to find out what is relevant. And most important thing is to understand what is at a moment attractive for most of the customers. And first of all, it is a bit of glamour and a bit of uniqueness, because due to all of these crises, everything seems to be quite gray at the moment. So that's actually, I've done the research just a few months ago. It was around 60% of them want a bit more glamour and a bit more uniqueness in their daily life with fashion. And after that, there is political attitude. We see it all over the country at the moment and all over the world that political statements are quite important. So it's coming back quite quickly. And the third one is secondhand. But what is interesting on that they say secondhand is a thing, they want to have it in a different way, because most of the secondhand stores are more or less a bit old-fashioned or vintage, but they want to have secondhand in a really modern way. And this is a really good bridge to what you do with all the videos and live streamings. It's a very modern way to show that secondhand is actually the most modern thing we can have, because it's a circular process and it's better and responsible for the world. And we do have so many chances right now using technology and using AI. And if there are different tools, first and most important thing for physical stores is to get all the data, so to understand your customer. And not only data like female, male, size, and color preferences, like also social media trends, hobbies, preferences, probably a customer didn't knew before. You know, it's like online dating. You have this clear image in mind before when you go on a platform, and you have your list in your head, like, I want to have that. So I want to have the, I don't know, sporty Daniel, and in the end, you fall in love with the smart Bernd. So, so people want to be surprised. So it's actually important if we use technology and data to find out what are the relevant data to surprise and inspire your people in future.
That also brings me back to Alexis at eBay again, because I think it's still quite hard sometimes, as you said, to find the piece that you're actually searching for, and sometimes people might not even know themselves what they're searching for. So I'm wondering, how are you using like artificial intelligence or other sorts of technology at eBay to actually really work on this conundrum, which is, and where I think we haven't really seen a breakthrough moment yet, that companies actually can know very well what customers want and then really offer it to them in the moment that they're on the page, actually.
Yeah, I think everybody in retail is focused on this problem right now. And what's unique about what we do at eBay is because we have this incredible selection, but it's mostly unique inventory, it makes this challenge even harder for a customer when they're coming on our site. So we're certainly investing and experimenting with different AI tools in helping customers find what they're looking for in new and different ways. And I'd say we're just at the beginning stages of that as an industry overall, but the innovation is certainly changing very, very quickly. And so we've started to invest in helping our sellers sell their product, because we have customers on both sides, both our sellers and our buyers, that we need to help create listings that are inspiring and engaging, and using a lot of AI tools there. I think we've had 10 million sellers engage with our AI tools to help with their listings to make them more compelling. And then on the buying side, we're testing different ways to present inventory to help from a discovery standpoint, as well as put outfits together. So if you come on and you see, well, this is a suit, but how to wear this suit, and see the different ways that you can create outfits, and using AI to generate that based on our very long tail of inventory. But I think this is where it starts to get really exciting within fashion. But it's been a hard problem in fashion, and it's been there for a very long time, because fashion is personal, and what you want to wear in one situation is very different than what you want to wear going out at night versus the work, and your style ends up flexing and changing, and being able to bring in style preferences is one of the things that I think we're just now on the verge of figuring out from an AI perspective, and how that changes. And I think the world of search in fashion will change very quickly now, and it'll be less about help me find this Gucci dress that I'm looking for, versus I wore something, help me find something like that that's now for my next event. And it's a much more dialogue with AI. So we're starting to see a lot more of that, and certainly we're investing in that from an eBay perspective as well. But it's still this personalized element that will come through in the shopping experience.
Yeah, I think this is also an interesting buzzword, like the personal shopping experience, and also the search for self-expression that we're touching on, where I'm also wondering in how it works for labels nowadays. How do you? There's this buzzword out there called authenticity, and that's supposed to help brands connect with customers. Like if you look into marketing speech of companies, but it has been also like sometimes misused into something where we don't actually even know what can be authentic as like a fashion brand even. And I think maybe starting with Effenberger, you managed to create you have a brand who does have that quite natural, and by that, by having this sort of story, I feel you also connect to your customers. But how did you get there? Actually, it sounds kind of easy when we speak about it, but it's not. The journey there is actually quite a long one, right?
It's a good question. I think like Effenberger Couture is I think the ingredient of Effenberger Couture that it started more as a joke. You know, I failed with my first brand, and with my first brand I took everything so serious, and I mean, it was 100% me, but I went after the rules of fashion on how to do things. And then with Effenberger Couture, even the name, I mean, that was my nickname in the studies, you know, like people teased me like this, Effenberger Couture. And so we took that because I already had a logo from a friend who made jokes about me, you know, and just gave me this logo as a graphic designer. So we were like, yeah, let's take this logo and yeah, whatever, let's try that. And it was more of a experiment, a joke, like this is what we want to do, this is what I want to do, this is what I can do, and I don't know why, I don't have any explanation. You asked me before, why are you making stuff for gay men when you're a straight woman? I mean, I can only give that back. Why is there so many gay men out there who make clothes for straight women? So I guess I'm just giving it back to them. I don't know. But I think it all came so naturally. And so it was just a little bit after like lying on the ground. I was just like, okay, what can go wrong? Let's do something I really enjoy doing, and let's do it my rules. And I think that's the authenticity, which horrible word.
Yeah, horrible word.
which was lying within, because I really just did what was making me happy at the beginning, and what I can do, and what I want to do, and the community I want to serve or like design for, and somehow I can't tell why, but this is where I see myself home as a designer. And yeah, I guess that's where it came from.
And to say this terrible word again, authenticity, and it's also, it kind of also poses a question about what's actually real in a world of fashion where it's a lot about appearance. And I think, Aline, you are also a filmmaker, so I think you're pretty familiar with like the dimensions of fiction and fashion in this sense. What are your thoughts of catering for like this need for authenticity, and then but also kind of being real? And obviously, your pieces are really the pieces that are also for appearance, I would say, like special pieces for occasions and so on.
Yeah, okay, I'll tell you a little story. I started beading when I was 7 years old, and I skipped church and went to a valley where these women were beading and weaving baskets and eavesdropping on the gossip they were having about their husbands. So they were like, okay, if you're going to be there, you know, come and learn and help. And I did. And since then, it's just something that has been something that gave me peace or brought me back to myself. And when I first started fashion designing, I was like, I want to make clothes, I want to make things that make me look good, because essentially that's where it started. But when I went back home to Rwanda, I met one of the women who taught me how to bead, and I just knew it. You know, that everything I was going to do, that's where the story of my work is rooted, or how I got passion and something that gave me something that felt like truly mine, but that was also inherited from the hands of other people. And I would say, to me, that's authentic. But also making things for people to hide their insecurities, you know, because at the end of the day, we are always walking with our imperfections. Some people are scared of it, and you know, you can dress it well, or you can address it. So it's two ways in which I would say that when I'm going about my work, I think a lot about these things, and also like when someone wears a piece, because it's one piece can be worn by different bodies, and it takes a different shape and it takes a different form, and I think that's inspiring. I don't know if I'm answering the question.
I think you are in a way, because I think the need for something real comes actually from a source of, we want to in those times of mass-produced fashion, comes from the need of wanting to know where our clothes are actually coming from in the end. And I think you have like real stories, like your own stories, sort of connected to your product in that sense, because you're still this. You run your own label, and I think that's what people can really associate themselves with, and I think authenticity. Now I did it also myself, is actually also something. It can also be a really hard currency when it comes to second-hand shopping. Like I think Alexis, you said that. You're also planning on expanding the authentication centers to make sure that people can trust, and it's also a matter of trust, how to, what they are buying actually on, like when it comes to secondhand, right? So that's really a need that you also perceive.
Yeah, absolutely. Within the pre-loved market space, trust is so important. We want to make sure that our buyers and sellers can trust the transaction that they're having, and that the items that they're buying are exactly as described. And we have an authenticity guarantee where you're able to, on different types of products, send it to our authenticators. And we have a center here in Germany where they hand check each item, both to ensure that the product is authentic, but also it's in the condition that you expect. And so that's something that's so important in a pre-loved and secondary marketplace, to instill that element of trust. But beyond that, we're also using technology. And so we have a company called Certilogo, which is applying digital product passports to items so that you can authenticate with your phone and scan a QR code and learn not just that the item is as expected and authenticated, but starting to learn the history of the item, and kind of, as you spoke to, the story, the sourcing and the materials behind it. But I think these are two ways that start to create trust, both in physically checking goods, but also this element of digital authenticity. And so we're continuing as a marketplace to really invest in ways that we can make sure that there's trust in that relationship between buyers and sellers, so that everybody gets what they expected and what they wanted, and also protect the brands that sell on our marketplace, or that we help support on our marketplace as well too.
And as we're running out of time, I wanted to just do like a final round of speculation with all of you. And I think it's about imagining, can you imagine how we sell clothes in 2040? And I think this task, I would first start with Theresa, our trend forecaster, and then we just make a little round. Just be, I think it's just a nice exercise to let go of your images of stores, e-commerce shops, and everything else, and just to think about, what could it look like actually?
Well, I mean, fashion trends are a result from the shifts in the society and the environment, whether as a trend or as a counter-trend. So in 2040, we have a rising world population. We do have a bit more of degrees. I mean, now it's hot, but it's getting hotter. So, of course, in 2040, which is just 15 years from now, we need to find new kind of materials, probably regenerative materials, just improve and all these processes of the value chain, and be more responsible on that. Probably thinking about a more local production, which is quite tough for everyone working in the fashion industry knows that local production is not that easy. We need to find a way to buy clothes with a lot of fun, because then you decide, do I need that dress or I don't need it? So at the moment, we need to come back to a time where we don't have these fast fashion trends, where we have so many clothes buying, to really focused buying process. And I think that is actually the most important thing. And if you focus on that, there is so much space for creativity then.
Okay, Alexis.
Yeah, I see a world where every clothing item we have has a physical and digital element to it. And with that digital element, you have your virtual closet, you have your AI helping you style, suggest both what next to complete your outfit, but then also when it's time for you to sell and support you in kind of your full fashion wardrobe. But I think this ability to have data attached to the things that we own is going to inform us to all be better consumers of fashion, but also be more inspired at the same time. I think it can unlock a lot, and the world will look very different.
Interesting.
I can definitely say that I don't think we're gonna have like showrooms anymore and like collect maybe seasonal collections, because people want to buy now and they don't want to wait a half a year of what they have seen on the runways or in the showrooms. So I think it's going to be definitely more digital too. I think there's more of an experience that you maybe can try on things online and yeah, just explore everything there, and then you have like maybe your how do you say, dummy, also like you buy it, but you also have it for your digital avatar, stuff like that. I think it will definitely be more fun, virtual fun, and like a bit more better experience than now. Yeah.
Tricky question.
Yes, because I'm not a big fan of technology, so because I like things to touch things, to smell it, to really look at the stitches. So I see where it's going, but I'm not very happy about it. Like that, everything is moving online, and that's okay. It's where the world is going, but.
But I think to
That's
every
scary
trend there is also a counter trend, and that we have also seen that people actually really want to go for artisanal stuff. People feel and see that it's made by hand. So I think the future is not only one-sided. Let's hope.
I hope not.
Okay, thank you everyone
All right.
for joining in, and yeah, thank you for the audience to listen.